they would actually accuse Jews and Christians of being atheists because they only accepted one. They're like, you're atheist. You only have one God. Well, if you have a pantheistic theology, you believe in all the gods, the last thing you want to do is offend a god.
Right.
So you never destroy a temple. But when they took Jerusalem, they destroyed the temple. So anyway, okay, so why do I think the temple's important or special? Why is it weird in history?
Yeah.
So Jesus clearly states there's going to be a judgment coming. Well, 67 AD, the Jews kick off a rebellion against the Romans. The Romans at first are beaten. The Romans don't take losing very well, so they send in 2 or 3 legions, and they just kind of mop up. From the top of the country coming down. People flee into Jerusalem because it's this, this giant walls, and it's in rugged. They think they can hold out. It's sort of like their battleship or something, like we can hold out here. And they all flood in, and the Romans are not going to accept that defiance, so they send in huge numbers of troops. They surround the city, and there's this extended siege. It goes on. It's ugly. It's brutal. The Romans initially take the walls of the city, which should maybe mean like, oh, this is over. But the Jewish forces were really smart. They retreated inside the city and set up internal barricades. And what that did was it negated some of the Romans, like the uses of catapults and battering rams and stuff like that, couldn't get into the city. And it became like really brutal, like street fighting. And it was just a nasty war.
Mm-hmm.
And the Romans would capture Jewish people. Sometimes Jews would try to escape because they were starting to starve in the city. And one of the Roman historians said that the Romans crucified people on the walls, which they had captured, and just left the bodies hanging to demoralize the people on the inside.
Wow.
And it said that they crucified people till there was no more room on the wall and no more wood left to build crosses. So you just imagine the city ringed with corpses and dying or dead. Just brutal stuff, right?
Yeah. And
eventually the city is taken. The last place to fall, or one of the last places to fall, is the last 2 where they sort of held out on Mount Zion, the temple. And when the temple fell, Josephus records that the blood actually ran out of the temple because they had retreated into the building itself and fought. And the blood ran out of the temple itself is recorded. So that seems fairly symbolic.
Yeah.
So all that is happening. But then something very, very strange happens, like really, really strange, even singular, I would say.
Uh-huh.
Because the Romans were not polytheists, they were pantheists. They believed in all the gods. There's a temple in Rome called the Pantheon, the temple to all the gods.
Yeah.
And Romans, if you believe in all the gods, then you're scared of all the gods, and you don't want to offend any of them. And so Roman practice throughout 1,200 years of recorded Roman history was if they conquered a place that had local gods, like Egypt with Ra and Osiris, or pick a place.
Yeah.
They did not want to offend the local gods. They never destroyed a temple, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And if they accidentally damaged one, so maybe they use a catapult and they knock a hole in a wall, then they immediately repair local temples and improve them, make them better, because they want the local gods to be like, hey, hey, local gods, look, we took good care of your building, right? We made it better.
Yeah.
You should approve of us being here, because they believed in all the gods. They would actually accuse Jews and Christians of being atheists because they only accepted one. They're like, you're atheist. You only have one God, right? Well, if you have a pantheistic theology, you believe in all the gods, the last thing you want to do is offend a god.
Right.
So you never destroy a temple. But when they took Jerusalem, they destroyed the temple. They burned it. And it's confused in history because it seems that on the night before the final assault that the order was given not to destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
But then at some point it starts burning, and then a follow-up is knock it down. And we don't really know why the temple is destroyed.
Gotcha.
Well, if their historical pattern was anytime we destroy something, we make it better, then they should have rebuilt it. But they didn't. They actually forbid it to be rebuilt. Well, why did that happen? It happened because the family, Vespasian and Titus and all those guys that led the assault, then eventually comes to the emperorship. And while you had while Rome was was an empire with an emperor, there's still politics. And they based their claim to the throne, the reason we should lead the empire is because we led the assault against Israel and against the Jews. And they went on a campaign of vilifying the Jewish religion and Jewish people. And a lot of the roots of Western anti-Semitism were sown at that point. Mm-hmm. But they're like, the Jewish religion is dirty, it's awful, it's bad, their God is bad. And they said all these things. Well, if you're saying we saved Rome from this evil force and this evil religion, then you don't allow the Reconstruction. It was a singular moment. They say, no, you cannot rebuild this. That's interesting.
Have you seen the Arch of Titus in Rome?
I have.
I have too. I've filmed it.
I have been there, and it's a really important thing.
It documents the temple being destroyed.
And you can't
in
deny
the time
it.
frame.
That's exactly right. And
Yes.
you can't deny it because it's really there.
It's pretty clear. I mean, if you look at it.
Yeah.
Look at
So there are some Muslim scholars who
Yeah.
want to deny there was ever, Jewish presence there. There was a
Right.
Jewish temple.
Yeah.
And it really shoots those theories, because
Yeah.
I spoke to a Muslim historian one time and he was telling me, there was never a Jewish temple. And I was like,
What?
But
Yeah.
I've been to Rome and I saw the arch.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have an explanation. I was like, it shows like Roman soldiers hauling off a menorah, like it's not confusing at all, and while the temple burns in the background,
Yeah.
so yeah, you can't escape it. And really anyone who is in Rome,
Yeah.
it's right over across from the Colosseum. So when you're
I've
at the
got
Colosseum,
the footage. I'll roll the footage now. If you're watching this.
So there you go. So it's like 50 yards from the Colosseum, probably, maybe a little bit more than that, but not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really wonderful historical thing that
Yeah.
was done, because it does all that history. You've got it carved in stone, and you can't deny anything.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So that happens, and they forbid Reconstruction. Hey guys, if you like our content, please click like and subscribe. That really helps us out a lot. And then also go to thelandinthebible.com and subscribe for premium content. And that really helps us. It helps us generate more content. And also half of it goes to help us go overseas and help refugee kids, is what we're really called to do.